Picture this. The year is 59 after Christ. You're Agrippina the Younger, 44 years old, the most powerful woman in Rome. You've survived 3 husbands, orchestrated a royal adoption, and poisoned an emperor to put your son on the throne. Tonight, your son has invited you to dinner at his villa in Baiaia. You're standing on the dock, watching servants prepare a boat to take you home. The vessel looks different than usual. Heavier. The wood creaks in ways that make your stomach tighten. Your son Nero, 21 years old, Emperor of Rome, kisses your cheek. Safe travels, mother. You step onto the boat. Behind you, the imperial villa blazes with torchlight. You can still hear music from the banquet. Laughter. The boat pushes off. You're halfway across the bay when you hear it. A sound like thunder, but from above. Not the sky. The ceiling collapses. Lead weights, hidden in the canopy, come crashing down. Around you, servants scream. One woman, your closest attendant, Acerronia, is crushed instantly beneath the lead panels. You're thrown into the water. The boat is sinking. This wasn't an accident. This was engineered. Your own son just tried to kill you. If you believe that the documented records of history's most terrifying figures must be remembered, consider liking this video and subscribing. Your support unearths more accounts from the darkest corners of the human story. Here's what you need to understand about this moment. This wasn't sudden madness. This was the inevitable conclusion of a relationship that started with incest, flourished through murder, and ended in matricide. To understand how mother and son reached this point, we need to go back 15 years. The year is 49 after Christ. Agrippina, the Younger, is 34 years old. She's the great-granddaughter of Augustus, sister of the mad Emperor Caligula, and widow of a wealthy consul. She has one asset that matters more than anything else in Rome: a son. His name is Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus. He's 11 years old. History will know him as Nero. Here's Agrippina's problem. Her uncle, Emperor Claudius, is 59 years old and married to a woman named Messalina, who already gave him a son, Britannicus, the legitimate heir to the throne. Agrippina's son has no path to power, so she creates one. First, she seduces her own uncle. According to the historian Tacitus, Agrippina began appearing at the palace with increasing frequency, using what he delicately calls the lure of family intimacy. She's 34, beautiful, and ruthless. Claudius is aging, weak-willed, and completely outmatched. Within months, Claudius divorces his wife and marries his own niece. Think about what this does politically. Agrippina goes from exiled widow to Empress of Rome in a single move. But she's not done. Next, she convinces Claudius to adopt her son as his own. In 50 after Christ, 12-year-old Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus becomes Nero Claudius Caesar. He's now the adopted son of the emperor, older than Britannicus, more politically connected, and first in line for the throne. Agrippina spends the next 4 years consolidating power. She places her allies in key positions. She accumulates titles Augusta, an honor never before given to a living emperor's wife. She appears on coins, equal in prominence to Claudius himself. She's not just the emperor's wife. She's co-ruler. Then, in October 54, after Christ, Emperor Claudius dies. The official story: he ate poisoned mushrooms at dinner. The truth: according to multiple Roman historians, Agrippina poisoned him herself. Tacitus records that she used a notorious poisoner named Locusta, who prepared a toxin so deadly that Claudius collapsed at the table, unable to speak, his body convulsing. Some sources say when the first dose didn't work fast enough, Agrippina had the poison reapplied, this time on a feather that the doctor used to help Claudius vomit. He died hours later. Agrippina kept his death secret for hours, controlling the palace, making sure all the pieces were in place. When she finally announced Claudius's death, Nero was already at the Praetorian Guard camp, being hailed as emperor. Her son is 16 years old. She made him a god. Now think about what this does to a teenage boy. Nero didn't earn the throne through military conquest or political brilliance. His mother murdered her way to power and handed him an empire. For the first 5 years, Agrippina runs Rome through her son. She sits in on Senate meetings. She issues orders. Coins are minted showing her profile equal to Nero's sometimes, even in front of his. Here's what ancient sources document about their relationship during this period. The historian Suetonius records that Agrippina would visit Nero in the afternoon when he was resting, and the two would be alone for extended periods. He writes that Nero's advisors, particularly the philosopher Seneca, became alarmed at the excessive intimacy between mother and son. Tacitus is more explicit. He states that Agrippina used all her charms to maintain influence over Nero, and that their relationship crossed boundaries that shocked even Rome, a city not easily shocked. Whether this means actual incest or just psychological manipulation designed to look like it, the effect was the same. Control. Nero, a teenager drowning in power he didn't earn, controlled by a mother who orchestrated everything, begins to resent her. The breaking point comes in 55 after Christus. Nero falls in love with a freedwoman named Acte. She's beautiful, low-born, and completely inappropriate for an emperor. Agrippina is furious not because of morality, but because Acte represents something Agrippina can't control her. Agrippina threatens to support Britannicus, Claudius's biological son, as the rightful emperor. Think about what this means. She's threatening to undo everything to reveal that Nero's claim is built on adoption and murder, that Britannicus has more legitimate blood. Nero's response is swift and brutal. In 55 after Christ, during a banquet, 14-year-old Britannicus collapses at the table. He dies within minutes. The historian Tacitus records that Nero had used the same poisoner his mother had employed to kill Claudius Locusta. Nero poisons his adopted brother, the last threat to his throne. Agrippina is present at the dinner. According to Tacitus, she understood immediately what had happened. Her son just used her own methods against her. This is the moment their relationship fundamentally changes. Over the next 4 years, Nero begins systematically removing his mother from power. He stops attending meetings with her. He removes her guards. He forces her to move out of the imperial palace. Agrippina tries to fight back. She reminds him loudly and publicly that she made him emperor. That, without her murders, her scheming, her body, he would be nothing. This is her fatal mistake. You don't threaten an emperor by reminding him he didn't earn his throne. You don't control a man by reminding him you once controlled everything about him. By 59 after Christ, Nero has decided his mother must die. Here's what makes this especially disturbing. Nero doesn't just want her dead. He wants it to look like an accident. He can't be seen as a matricide. It's one of the most unforgivable crimes in Roman culture. So he engineers the collapsing boat. According to Tacitus, Nero consulted with an engineer named Anicetus, who designed a pleasure boat with a lead-weighted canopy rigged to collapse mid-journey and a hull designed to break apart, ensuring anyone inside would drown. The plan almost works, but Agrippina survives. After the ceiling collapses and the boat starts sinking, she manages to swim to shore. She's 44 years old, injured but alive. Think about what's going through her mind. She knows her son just tried to kill her. She knows that if he tried once, he'll try again. But here's the thing that should terrify you about Agrippina's psychology. According to Tacitus, when she reaches shore, she doesn't flee. She doesn't raise an alarm. She sends a message to Nero saying she survived a terrible accident and is recovering. She's giving him a way out. Pretend it was an accident. We'll both move on. But Nero knows she knows, and he can't let her live with that knowledge. That same night, he sends soldiers to her villa. The historical record, preserved by Tacitus and Suetonius, describes what happens next. Agrippina is in her bedroom when the soldiers arrive. She's lying on a couch, attended by a single maidservant. The door bursts open. She sees the centurion. She sees the weapons. According to Suetonius, she knows immediately why they're there. She stands up. She points to her womb, the womb that carried Nero for 9 months. "Strike here," she says. The soldiers hesitate for only a moment. Then they kill her. Multiple wounds. Tacitus records that she was struck repeatedly, brutally, without ceremony. The woman who poisoned an emperor, who seduced her uncle, who orchestrated a teenage boy's rise to absolute power, dies on the floor of her bedroom, murdered by her son's soldiers. She was 44 years old. Here's what Nero does next, and this is where you see the true psychological horror. He doesn't bury her quietly. He doesn't give her a state funeral. According to ancient sources, her body is cremated hastily that same night, without proper rituals. No tomb, no monument. Nero is trying to erase her from history. But here's what he can't erase: his own guilt. The historian Suetonius records that after the murder, Nero was plagued by nightmares. He claimed to see his mother's ghost. He claimed to hear her voice. He hired Persian mages to perform rituals to banish her spirit. Think about the psychology here. This is a man who ordered his mother's death, who engineered an elaborate assassination, who sent soldiers to finish the job when the first attempt failed, but he can't live with what he's done. Tacitus records a chilling detail. When Nero returned to Rome after the murder, he expected condemnation. Instead, the Senate congratulated him. They thanked him for surviving his mother's treachery, accepting his story that Agrippina had been plotting against him. The Senate, composed of Rome's most powerful men, was so terrified of Nero that they applauded matricide. Here's what haunts me about this story. Agrippina and Nero weren't just mother and son. They were co-conspirators who destroyed everyone around them: Claudius, Britannicus, countless others, until there was no one left to destroy but each other. She created a monster by handing absolute power to a teenage boy who didn't earn it. He became a monster by realizing the person who gave him everything could also take it away. This wasn't just murder. This was the inevitable conclusion of a relationship built on manipulation, murder, and power. The question we have to confront is this: was Nero evil from the start? Or did Agrippina create the man who would kill her? Think about what happens when you raise a child to believe he's a god. When you murder your way to power and teach him that human life is disposable, when you control him through psychological and possibly physical intimacy, and then threaten to take it all away. What kind of man do you create? After Agrippina's death, Nero's reign descended into pure madness. In 64 after Christ, the Great Fire of Rome destroyed much of the city. Nero blamed Christians and began the first systematic persecution, burning them alive as human torches to light his gardens. In 65 after Christ, he kicked his pregnant wife Poppaea to death during an argument. By 68 after Christ, the Senate declared him a public enemy. Nero fled Rome and committed suicide at age 30. His last words reportedly, "What an artist dies in me." The boy Agrippina, made emperor, died alone, paranoid, and despised. But here's the thing that should keep you awake at night. Agrippina's methods, seduction, poison, murder, manipulation, were monstrous, but they worked. She took a powerless child and made him emperor of Rome. The question is, at what cost? She taught her son that power justifies any crime, that family bonds mean nothing, that murder is just politics by other means. And then she acted surprised when he turned those lessons on her. If this exposed something you've never heard before, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're going to keep uncovering the history they tried to erase. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Do you think Nero was born evil? Or did Agrippina create the monster who killed her? I'll see you in the next investigation. The Roman Empire tried to erase Agrippina from history. No grand tomb, no monuments, just a hurried cremation and silence. But 2,000 years later, we're still talking about her. Because you can't erase the lessons. You can't bury the truth about what happens when ambition, murder, and power collide in the relationship between a mother and son. Agrippina the Younger made an emperor and that emperor killed her for it. This is the documented account of the most depraved imperial relationship in Roman history, not hidden in shadows, but recorded by Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassius Dio, historians who witnessed the aftermath and spoke to those who knew the truth. History tried to forget Agrippina. We remember her because the horror she created, and the horror that destroyed her, teaches us something fundamental about power, family, and the monsters we make.